In 1971, Ford built a transit van that had far more in common with a GT40 than the vans delivering bread. They called it the Supervan, and this is its story. Back in the early 1970s, Ford faced an unusual challenge. The company had enjoyed enormous success with the GT40, and its victories at Le Mans had transformed Ford into a serious performance brand. The problem was figuring out how to connect that racing success with a commercial van used by bakers, electricians, delivery drivers, and small business owners. Ford wanted people to see the Transit in a completely different light, so the company came up with a solution that was as clever as it was unexpected. If racing success helped sell sports cars, why not use that same excitement to sell vans? To make it happen, Ford turned to Terry Drury Racing with a task that probably sounded like a joke at first. Take a standard Ford Transit and transform it into something nobody would ever forget. The finished vehicle made its public debut on Easter Sunday, April 11, 1971, at Brands Hatch. Spectators expecting a normal day at the races suddenly found themselves staring at a white Transit, wearing Ford's familiar blue racing stripes. Its biggest trick was looking almost completely normal. Yes, the wheel arches were noticeably wider, the tires looked absurdly oversized, and the stance hinted that this van had absolutely no interest in delivering furniture, but it still remained unmistakably a Mark I Transit. That understated appearance was intentional. Ford wanted the Supervan to resemble a production model as closely as possible. There were no giant wings, no dramatic body kit, and no flashy graphics announcing that this thing belonged on a racetrack. Park it in a crowded lot, and plenty of people would probably walk right past it without giving it a second look. That illusion disappeared the moment the engine fired up. A standard Transit came with an Essex V4 mounted up front. The Supervan took a very different approach. Behind the driver sat a racing-tuned 302 cubic inch Ford V8, paired with a 5-speed transaxle, giving the van far more in common with endurance racers than commercial vehicles. Power figures vary depending on the source. Some reports list output at 400 horsepower, while others put the number at 435 horsepower. No matter which figure you go with, that was an outrageous amount of power for a van in 1971, especially when many sports cars of the era struggled to produce half as much. The engine had deep roots in Ford's racing program. It was prepared by Gurney Westlake Engineering and fitted with the same style of racing exhaust headers used on the GT40. What sat underneath has been the subject of debate for decades. Many people believe Ford built the van on a GT40 chassis, while other accounts point to a modified Cooper Monaco space frame. The performance figures backed up the outrageous concept. Ford claimed a top speed of around 150 miles per hour, though some reports pushed that estimate closer to 168 miles per hour. 0 to 60 took roughly 7 seconds, and the quarter mile disappeared in about 14.5 seconds. Straight line speed was only part of the story. Footage from Brands Hatch showed the van attacking corners with confidence. Massive Goodyear tires measuring 15 inches wide helped to provide impressive grip, though the laws of physics were never fully on Ford's side. The steel body remained tall and heavy, leading to dramatic body roll during hard cornering. At times, it even lifted a front wheel off the ground. The biggest challenge came from aerodynamics. Race cars look cool for a reason, and a delivery van resembles a brick with windows. At higher speeds, body lift made handling increasingly unpredictable. Reports suggest it could reach 134 miles per hour in third gear, though pushing beyond that point required a great deal of bravery. It had enough power to go faster, but its shape had other plans. Still, nobody built this machine to chase lap records or dominate championships. It existed to capture attention, and it exceeded even Ford's highest expectations. The Transit toured race meetings across Europe and quickly became a crowd favorite. At one event during a touring car race weekend, it tackled the Nürburgring and completed the course in 9 minutes and 13 seconds, putting it ahead of some actual race entries. The van continued its promotional duties throughout the 1970s and into the early 1980s. By then, the Transit itself had changed. Ford introduced the Mark II Transit in 1978, giving the van a completely new appearance. The original Supervan no longer matched the latest production model, which meant it was time for a replacement. That replacement arrived in 1984 as Supervan II. Built around a Ford C100 Group C chassis and fitted with a fiberglass Mark II Transit body, the second-generation Supervan packed a Cosworth DFL V8 producing around 600 horsepower. 10 years later, Ford introduced Supervan 3 to promote the facelifted third-generation Transit. It raised the stakes even further with a Ford Cosworth V8 producing up to 660 horsepower, though later versions used a 299 horsepower V6. Unlike its predecessors, it arrived near the beginning of the model's life cycle rather than serving as a send-off for an outgoing generation. The tradition continued all the way into the electric era. In 2022, Ford revealed Supervan 4 at the Goodwood Festival of Speed. Gone was the V8 soundtrack, replaced by an all-electric powertrain capable of launching the van from 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds. The latest version, known as Supervan 4.2, recorded a Nürburgring lap time of 6 minutes and 48 seconds. Across more than 5 decades, one thing never changed. Supervans have always been marketing machines. Ford never built road-going versions, and none of them were made street legal. No matter how badly you wanted to surprise Corvettes and 911s during your morning commute, the dream stayed a dream. Yet the original Supervan never faded away. Only one example existed, and after its promotional career ended, Terry Drury Racing stripped the vehicle for parts. The valuable racing components eventually found new homes elsewhere, and the remains of the van disappeared. For years, many people believed it had been lost forever. Then came Andy Brown. Brown had worked as an engineering apprentice at Ford and knew Terry Drury personally. In 1973, he bought what remained of the original Supervan for just £500. That price got him little more than a shell and 4 wheels, no engine, no race components, no easy path forward. Brown spent years collecting parts and trying to bring the Supervan back to life. The project eventually became too expensive to maintain, forcing him to step away for a while, but he never forgot about it. Years later, he found the remains again and started restoring it with as many original parts as possible. In 2024, the Supervan returned. The van that once shocked crowds at Brands Hatch finally came back to life just in time for the Ford Transit's 60th anniversary in 2025. The information in this video was gathered from the sources shown on screen. As always, you can find the sources in the Google Doc linked in the description. I recommend checking them out for more details. If you enjoyed this video, there are a couple more on screen you might like. One takes a look at the Ford Aurora, a really cool station wagon Ford built in the 1960s. The other tells the story of Saleen, the company behind what many consider America's first hypercar. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next one.